Calling the Foxborough School Committee meeting to order. Tonight being December 2nd, 7 o'clock, Foxborough High School Media Center. This is the agenda for this evening. 7 o'clock, visitors. 7:10, approval of minutes. 7:15, teaching and learning highlights, readers, writers workshop, grades 5 through 6. 7:30, approval of Foxborough High School overnight travel. 7:35, school improvement plans, the Foxborough High School with Ms. Diana Myers-Pakla and the Ahern Middle School, Ms. Sue Abrams, principal. 8:15, FPS technology plan update. 8:25, educator evaluation update, Ms. Spinelli. 8:35, overnight parking on school property in winter, Ms. Spinelli. 8:40, other matters. We will not be going into executive session. So I'd like to start. Please come forward, state your name. Welcome.
Hello, my name's Joe Garrity. I'm a student at Foxborough High School, and I just wanted to let the committee know that they're starting to do, through the food service program, they're starting to do, right now they're letting the teachers bring home big pizza pies, like say if you were at Papagino's, then they're going to start doing it for the students next week. Then they do individual slices in the new pizza oven. They're doing this because of the new pizza oven. Then they're going to be doing, the Mrs. Johnson's trying to work with custodial staff about staying after, about not cleaning right after school because they're going to think about start doing smoothies and pretzels after school.
Oh, so this is changing? This is something new that they're?
Yeah.
So this is, this is a follow-up, which, do you get this update from Ms. Johnson? Is that why you're waiting?
Well, I saw the pizza thing in all the classrooms about
Yeah.
ordering pizza. I just saw it in all the
So
classrooms.
partly this is what Mr. Euchner and Ms. Johnson were talking about, where we're going to try to offer food right after school for Foxborough High School students so that they can, if they have an event or athletics to say after, they can get something to eat, right?
Yep.
Thank you for letting us know that. That's a great idea.
Good. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other visitors? Seeing none, we're going to go on to approval of minutes, and we're looking at November 18th, our regular meeting minutes. Do I have any changes?
I have no
or anything?
changes.
Anyone else?
May I just, to the other, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Just to the other matters, I just wanted to add a sentence regarding the work that you're doing for the Racino mitigation. And so I mentioned in the meeting that I would like, as soon as possible and as necessary, this item to go on an agenda in the future.
Okay.
If necessary.
As soon as possible and as necessary. As necessary, yep. And that's all I
Okay.
have, thank you.
Okay. So as necessary, are you saying those like a direct quote that you said, or is this just kind of
Well,
the
it was
general?
just a request that I made during the remarks,
Okay.
so.
All right, does anybody have any feedback about that? Okay. So, so that would be, how would the sentence read, just for
I
Janet?
think the sentence could read, Mr. Uden also asked that the matter be added to the agenda as soon as possible and as necessary.
And as necessary, okay. So, okay, I don't mean to split hair about semantics here, but, okay, so you're saying that you said, okay, you want it on the agenda, and then, because what I remember is that the committee had asked me to find out more information about it and bring it back, bring the information back to all of you, and then we would decide whether we were gonna put it on the agenda. Is that right, or is that other people's is that what you're saying, Steve, basically? Or is there something different? I'm just kind of looking for feedback from.
Will there, I guess the question is, will there be a public report on what you've found in the fractured communication and how?
Oh, okay, so, well, I think what my understanding was, I was gonna get information from the chairman of the
Yeah.
selectmen,
Yep,
bring it back to the committee,
yep,
that information, and then from there, the committee would decide whether we wanted to put it formally on the agenda. I did not feel that the direction given to me was that it was going to be an agenda item. It was going to be more, I was going to report back to you, and then we would all decide collaboratively whether we wanted it to be an agenda item. No,
If that's how we would like to amend it, I am amenable to amending it that way. How's that?
is that how others
So I
remember it?
could change the sentence to, Mr. Uden also asked, let me see, let me compose
That it
here.
become an agenda item if necessary.
If necessary and,
If the
If
committee,
necessary.
if necessary and in, what, agreement with consensus of the board?
yeah, I guess so.
That was my recollection of the
Yeah,
discussion.
yes.
So, Mr.
Yes.
Uden asked about mitigation relative to Racino and Plainville, and whether that should be added as an agenda item in the future,
If necessary.
if, with committee consensus or something.
Yeah, because I think I said I'd bring it back to all of you, and then we could decide together.
Then
that-
who-
yes.
Then who composes the amended sentence? If you folks
All right,
want to
I'm going to
compose
see
it,
if I'm going to try.
recompose it, and as
I'm
long
ta-
as it's in the
Since I've
public
been listening,
air.
Mr. Uden asked about mitigation relative to the Racino and Plainville and inquired, how's that? Whether or not this should be added to the school committee agenda in the future.
Okay, sure.
After discussion, Ms. Adair agreed to contact the Board of Selectmen regarding information to bring back to the committee on this matter, and the committee will decide by consensus whether it should be an agenda item.
I'm agreeable to that.
That
Thank
sounds
you.
good. Thanks,
Great.
Debbie.
Thank you.
Decide.
I'm sorry, I have one more thing. Since we're being wordsmithy, and I'm sorry, but I think we should actually include the word proposed before Racino in the minutes, since we're discussing it,
Agreed.
because it
Yep.
isn't a done deal. It
Yeah.
is a
Perfect.
proposed
Proposed mitigation. Do
Yes,
or
thank you.
Racino.
you want me to
No,
have
the
that?
Janet has that, poor
proposed
Janet.
Racino.
Oh, proposed,
Proposed Racino.
okay. Would you like one more read? Would that make everybody feel better?
Yes, please, it's almost an agenda item already.
Janet, this is a two-tag team match here, let's see. Mr. Uden asked about mitigation relative to the proposed Racino in Plainville and inquire whether or not this should be a school committee agenda item in the future. Ms. Adair, after discussion, Ms. Adair agreed to contact the Board of Selectmen regarding information to bring back to the school committee on this matter, and the committee will decide by consensus whether to make this an agenda item.
Well, then, I would call them mitigation timelines, because that was the genesis of my frustration, right? Was fractured timelines
Just about
and
mitigation
unclear timelines.
timelines.
Yeah.
Mitigation timelines relative to the proposed
All
casino.
right?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Well, I need a motion, and we can all agree or disagree. Motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll make that motion.
I'll have to second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for doing my homework, Mrs. Superintendent, I appreciate
No, I
it.
can scribble with the best of them. Whether we both have the same thing tomorrow will be a different question. I think we will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move on to teaching and learning highlights. I'm going to give the floor over to.
Yes, very exciting teaching and learning highlight, not that they all aren't. So I would like to invite Colin Vogelgesang, who's a grade 5 teacher, Gloria Lehan, grade 6 teacher, and Sue Forrest, who's a middle school literacy specialist, up to the guest table. And they are going to be talking about their latest literacy initiative at the Ahern Middle School. I see Miss Abrams here. I'm sure she'll pop up and add anything she might want at the end. But this is about teachers and the great things that they're doing with their students. So I believe they have a little treat video for you, and then they're going to explain what it is. So I'm just going to turn it over to you three and tell us whatever you'd like to tell us about the Readers Writers Workshop model.
Sounds great, thanks. So over the course of the last few months, we have put into implementation in grades 5 and 6 in the ELA classrooms the reading writing workshop model. But it didn't come out of the blue. It came from really listening to a desire among the teachers for wanting better for students. And from my perspective, having sort of the bird's eye view over the different grade levels, what I'm hearing teachers say is, and what I'm seeing is good things happening in the classroom. So components of the model that I'll describe briefly to you have been in place. But with the onset of the shift to the Common Core state standards, which are, quite cumbersome, and all of the things that our teachers try to do and really endeavor to do daily for the betterment of students and their learning, we needed some way of getting our arms around all of that so that the students really did benefit and we could see the difference in student achievement. And so listening to teachers say, I wish I had more time, FaceTime with students, I wish I had more time to give them the feedback that I know is essential, and I want to make the most out of my instructional blocks. And putting all of that together, really what we came up with was looking at this Readers, Writers Workshop model. And the beauty of the model, and I would say with my history professionally here in Foxborough, I can say that what we don't do is subscribe to fads, that we always really try to consult what the research says. And the Readers, Writers Workshop model really is grounded in decades of research and practice. It's tried and true, and all of the bodies of research that we look at all are mutually supportive, so we've gone forth with this with confidence. So let me just give you a quick little background on where we've been. So last year we started talking about it, I would say informally, early on in our content meetings routinely. And with the support of Mrs. Abrams, we were able to engage in layers of professional development. We had a chance to attend conferences to hear Nancy Atwell herself, who's one of the gurus in Readers, Writers Workshop. We got to hear her speak and come back as a team and reflect upon that. We've had a chance to do site visits to a classroom in Milford, where this practice has been going on, and the classroom instructor there has really been working with us quite a bit, and turns out she actually taught the graduate course that several of our teachers took here on site this past summer. So those layers have been in place, and then with the embedded professional development, both collegial and in my role working with teachers, and what Sue Abrams has allowed us to do, have really helped us launch this initiative in a way that has left me in awe, really, of the teachers and the fine work that they're doing. So I'll quickly describe the model so that you understand that. It's just best teaching practice. And while we describe it in the ELA classroom, it's good no matter what you teach or where you're teaching. So each lesson starts with a mini lesson. And that sort of answers the piece where teachers are saying, I want kids to have more time. So if we really focus our instruction and keep those lessons truly mini, so that the kids understand with clarity what the goal is, what the objectives for the lesson are, we've got more time within that instructional block to engage them, gradually releasing that responsibility to them, making sure they're gaining control of the concepts or the strategies that we're trying to teach, and to the point where we then send them off independently. So we start with the mini lesson, and then we have the do with the teacher bit, in peers working together, and then when it's time, the kids go off independently, and they are practicing the strategies. And it's at that point where there's this optimization of the independent practice time, where the teacher really can get up close with students. And that's where they can really notice, what are the readers doing? What are the writers doing? And what does each student individually need? And I know that both Colin and Gloria will talk specifically about what that looks like in the classroom, but we know for sure that when students get timely feedback frequently, that's where they can make those adjustments as learners, and that's where we expect to see the greatest gains. So we're really excited about all of that. Well, I want to talk a little bit about where we've been and why we made the shift. We've talked about differentiation of instruction, and that is vitally important. And through our support models, whether we've had special education support, reading support, or other support in the classrooms, that's helped us to meet the needs, certainly, of all of our learners. And over the last several years, we've tried what we've sort of termed the flex model, which is just a nickname for flexibly grouping, using all of the support staff that we have. And that really has helped our learners make gains. It's helped us to address the different standards at the points where students are. But we know even within the ELA classroom, even if there weren't any support in place, that differentiation can happen for students. And it's with this Readers, Writers Workshop model that I think our teachers here would agree that it really more naturally happens. So when we send them off to work independently, that's when the teacher can confer with students and give them that one-on-one about the reading and the writing, or that's where they can see students in a small group. And again, when you add to that the supports that come into the classrooms, I think you're just going to get the most bang for your buck. So it's really been an exciting, I would say, half year or so, but just in the last few months since the students have crossed the threshold in grades 5 and 6, we've been pretty excited about the things that are happening there. So I'm going to turn it over here. I know Gloria is going to talk a little bit in a minute. We're going to take a second and watch a video clip, and then Gloria's going to talk a little bit about the mini lesson piece, and then Colin's going to talk about the role of conferring with students and how they each see that as having made a difference already for their students. So in this video clip, it's just about 2 minutes long. What we've tried to do is capture the essence, snippets of different workshops, readers workshop, writers workshop, where you'll see an instance of a mini lesson where the teacher has the students up close and gathered round, and then you'll see lots of independent practice, and sometimes you'll see a teacher, it's actually Colin here, who's meeting one-on-one with a student, and other times you'll see teachers conferring with students, but as they gather around their natural group where they're working anyway. The beauty of this, as you look at the snippets, is it captures, some of these snippets really capture student work, and one of the biggest pieces that we've taken away from this is how vital choice is. And so the student notebooks that we're looking at really show students brainstorming of the things that are near and dear to their hearts, the things that matter most, because without that motivation, without that choice, we're really going to diminish the amount of learning that students are interested in doing. And I think that'll come forth in the video. Okay?
Snap for everyone. Oh, 2 TDs against Brockton. Okay, so you what? Should I go next? Which one sounds good? When I had to give my dog.
So, I mean, that barely captures all of the really great work that's going on, but hopefully it gives you a little sense that we've got teachers with a clear focus on their objectives, and certainly there hasn't been an absence of that, but the structure itself really does allow us to, while we take on the cumbersome standards, it allows us to slow down what we're doing so that we're more clear to students, so that they have ease with hitting that instructional target a lot better. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gloria. She's going to talk a little bit about the mini lesson.
And it is a perfect segue into the mini lesson because when you're teaching and with such huge standards that we have to deal with and try so much we need to teach our students, it's easy to sometimes throw too much out there on the table for them. And as a result, it's ambiguous whether or not they're going to get any of it because their minds are all over the place trying to pull it all together. The beauty of the mini workshop is that you're forced by the structure of it to really narrow down, again, the word focus comes into play here, the real point of that particular lesson that you want to convey to the students and help them to become adept at. And so it's twofold. You've got the mini lesson, you have it very well structured and planned out. You have your students up close, it gets very close and personal. They have frequent opportunities to, quickly interact with each other to, incorporate that social aspect of learning. And you've got it narrowed down to such a small point. And you're using fabulous real literature, real texts that, you're using to make your point with and for modeling for them. And then so that when they get up and go away, and then they are then working with their self-selected text that they're reading or their self-selected stories that they're writing or whatever, whether it's reading or writing workshop, they go back with one new piece of learning in mind. And then it's much easier for them then to incorporate that new piece of learning, organically and for the most degree, pretty quickly, take in that new knowledge and apply it to what they're doing, whether it's with their reading or with their writing. And I love it, and I do see like a new renewed sense of my own teaching, even. So I come to it with a little bit more enthusiastic. As a 6th grade teacher, the kids are, slowly moving away from that young child where, little kids spend more time up close to their teachers, and it sort of brought that part back to it, to my own teaching, which, I find that I love. So it's been good. Good for me, good for the students.
And I think to Gloria's point, when she talks about the students just taking away that one teaching point, the beauty of this structure is the student will take it away, but they own that strategy. That's not to say it won't be revisited and reinforced, but some students may go back then and apply that strategy at that point, but others may not quite be ready for it. And where we had talked about choice, the workshop structure allows students to work to the degree to which they're ready. So some students may have whipped out an entire narrative or maybe working on an informational piece. Some may be in the research phase, and others might be really just working on developing their leads. And so that's okay, because they can continue to cycle through pieces of writing, because again, the goal is we want them to have practice with volumes to really develop those skills. So they take that strategy, the reading or the writing strategy, away, and they hold on to it in their reader's notebook or their writer's notebook, and they can go back and sort of consult that mini lesson at any point. It's documented for them in one way or another, so they can draw upon it. And that's part of our goal toward getting them to be more independent as well.
Yeah, and I think sort of what Sue was just touching on, and Gloria as well, is the sort of ongoing conversation that you can have about what a child might be reading or writing. I think that's, to me, that's the best part, because, although we've tried for a long time to really differentiate instruction, I feel like now it really makes so much sense when you do it in this model. Every child, individual, is getting, exactly what they need. You sit down one-on-one, you look at what they're reading and what they're writing, you give them some feedback, you ask them some questions, you have a conversation, and I think that when I first heard those terms, workshop, I'm thinking it's got to be collaboration, it's got to be conversation, and it really has been. And so you're meeting each kid at their level and then providing them with some steps to take it to the next level. And you're giving them sort of an opportunity to sit down and really kind of hash it out and together sort of conjure up these small achievable goals. And you say, when we meet next time, I want to see what kind of progress you're making in this area and that area. And it sort of holds them accountable, and they're getting the choice. I think, as Sue and Gloria mentioned, that they're choosing what they want to read, and they're choosing what they want to write, and they're sort of bought into it. And so the conversations become much more student-centered, much more collaborative, as opposed to I'm the teacher, I'm going to tell you what to do, It's sort of, what can we do to make this piece a bit stronger? What can I do to help you with your reading, and sort of own what you learned in that mini lesson that we just did. So I find that the students are getting a lot more out of it. They're getting more time to take what you've taught them, take what you've talked about in your conversations, and apply it with the free time that they have to work on what they want to be writing about, what they want to be reading about. So it's been tremendous this year, and it's obviously it's one of those things that will get easier in time as well. But the work that Sue's done and the resources that Sue Evans has provided has really been helpful to sort of
Very, very
jumpstart
helpful,
this.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, the kids buy into it so well, but one of the things I love too with the conferencing is that when your whole class and you throw out a question to the class and the hands go up and you can only call on like that 1 or 2 children at a time, and then the lesson moves on, so that you miss a lot of the thinking that's going on behind the kids, whether it's their comprehension of what they're reading or it's what they're trying to convey in their writing. And I find, especially with the writing, that when you can talk to them about it one-on-one and they see the level of interest you have in what they're doing and that you're really working with them and what they're trying to do, and you're better understanding what they're trying to do, then the story or the writing, whatever it is, just evolves better. And the kid is more interested, the child's more interested in what they're writing because of that vested interest in them as a person and not just throwing out the classroom question, like we used to do.
Right.
So.
And you can tell that they're excited. They're excited about what they're producing. They want to meet with you. Isn't this our day to sit down? Absolutely. And I think that's something that was sort of maybe lacking in the past. At least I felt that it was sort of, you assign something, the kid works on it, and you give them a little bit of feedback, and it just sort of, evaporates into the abyss. But here it's such an ongoing. It's the process. It's the, we're working through it. We're learning skills that you're going to apply forever, and it's been great.
Yeah.
So it's like the review time, would have been when you received the paper and you made a grade on it, you gave them a grade, and then you would give it back to them, I'm sure, with comments on it.
Right.
But, and unless maybe the learner was not doing well, you'd probably give them maybe more comments, or maybe you'd spend more time with them, but this you're really able to give each child and each learner specific attention.
And oftentimes you can catch it before a mistake has been made. So they don't have to go through that, I made the mistake part of it. They get the idea because of their opportunity to be able to orally explain what they're trying to do. And then they can work it through before, some of the writing even gets down on paper. So they don't even have to go through the of course, there's, constructive comments that go on, but sometimes it just, works beautifully. And then there's the pride of what they've accomplished without going through that little negative part, where it didn't work out.
Teachers
I just
doing
love
this?
it.
Are all the ELA?
5th and 6th grade, yes, they are.
All ELA teachers.
And I think, all their points are wonderful. I personally love this model. It's not new, like Sue said, it's not a fad, but it's something that they chose to revisit as what's best practice and what do we need to do more of that we know is good practice, and how can we all do it together. But I think that what they're saying in a lot of words is reading and writing is so personal. When you're reading, it's your interpretation or your construction of the meaning of that author's words, and there's lots of different interpretations. There's no one right one. And then when you're writing, you really are trying to get your personal ideas across to somebody else who's going to be the reader. So it's such a reading and writing is such personal acts that this workshop model puts that personalization back in throughout the whole stage, where they're not just reading something and answering questions that everybody's reading, and that that everybody's answering in kind of the same way. And it does allow the teachers to continue to teach while their thoughts, whether they're reading or writing, are under construction still. So it really just takes that whole personalization of interpretation of text and writing right back to the instructional process, where they have the most power to intervene with skills and strategies, or just a new way of thinking about reading or writing. So I think it's wonderful.
I think the highlight for me is that I've noticed that kids feel more successful, and that there'll still be kids that struggle with writing, or maybe that don't enjoy writing as much as others. But when you give them enough time to write, when you give them small tasks, like this is what I want you to do, or here's what you could work on, everyone can be successful with, achieving that one or those two goals and not feel overwhelmed by, I need to remember these 55 things when I do this writing piece. I'm going to do this one thing right, and I'm going to work on this, and then I'm going to do this. And I'm going to have lots of time to practice, and I'm going to have lots of feedback, both with my teacher and my peers.
choice. I mean,
exactly.
they're choosing their topics and they're choosing their books that they're reading. And, part of the whole process is guiding them to a good level for them to be working on independently. But it's wonderful. I mean, you worry that the management's going to be hard because you are working with individual students, so what's everybody else going to be doing? But they're engaged. They pick their book, they want to read their book, they picked their topic for their writing, they're part of their heart and soul is going into it, so they're much more engaged than in the past. So.
And if I can just say, too, that this, as 5th and 6th grade teachers, they really have embraced this in a sweeping fashion. Unless they're really behaving for me, and I don't believe, I know them, so they don't feel compelled to behave for me, but they truly all have, and I've heard nothing but positive comments, and I think that's very telling because we know the demands of instruction today. But it's especially challenging for them at the middle school because they don't have a self-contained classroom. Right. They don't have one group of 20 students or 25 students. They have two groups of 20 or 22 students. And so the load is double, and their time constraints are a little bit more constricted, and yet they go forth. And so our going forth together is continually trying to identify what are the factors that sort of inhibit the progress, both instructionally and from the student's point of view, and how can we prioritize and problem solve for those to optimize it, given some of the limitations that we do have.
Tina, did you?
Well, yeah, I think it's fabulous. I have a 6th grader, as you know, and he seems to be enjoying it. I like that a lot of the writing it takes place in the classroom, and they get that immediate feedback from the teacher because when it's sent home for homework, they either are on their own,
right,
or their parent is giving them feedback, which is not always received well, at least in my household. But from a teacher, it really has so much impact, and you all do such a great job with them. I know Sam's doing fantastic with the Readers and Writers Workshop, so just from a first-hand perspective, I think it's great. Keep it up.
It sounds like a great program, and we're fortunate we've got the teachers who are
such a
so
great team.
enthusiastic, and I think that definitely gets passed on to the
and
students
the
as
support
well.
from administration.
Right.
The materials we've been supplied to
Yes.
work with have been just phenomenal. We couldn't want for anything.
So you may not know Rob Muir, who is not
Yes,
with us in middle school, but he's
Yes.
an awesome participant in our meeting. So
please.
he's our high school student representative.
I feel like what should be really noticed is how that's gonna help in the future for when they do go to high school. In high school, I mean, you don't get to choose what you want to read, you don't get to choose what you have to write. But I feel like them seeing how to write and knowing that they can put what they want to say into their papers, I feel like going to high school, they'll be probably far better than most of the kids that we have here now. I would just say.
It'll be really interesting to see as the years go by. Yeah, how that
Yes, I
shapes
think
the high school.
we'll be looking at that data definitely to see the impact that it has. Great point.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us this evening.
That was awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
The recent PD Day, their discussions in their workshop about this model and what their mini lessons are going to be was pretty impressive, too, so thanks. They're doing great work.
Oh, it's very exciting.
I just love that they're not afraid to just jump in and all work together and really be pretty powerful together. They're impressive teams in 5th and 6th grade, I have to say.
Well, you could see it too from the video, the enthusiasm with the students, and they, were all raising their hands, and they, they definitely seem engaged.
Exciting.
All right, we're going to go on to approval of Foxborough High School overnight travel.
Yes, I'll invite Diana up to our guest microphone. As you can see in the memo, the committee always approves anticipated overnight trips for the 2013-14 school year for Foxborough High School students, and you can see Diana wants to, just for the people watching at home, if you'll just give a little read through of what the overnight trips will be, and then the committee will see if they have questions.
There are two at the top that you can see that are a need to qualify, and they're always out there each and every year. And that's the cheerleading competition and, again, the cheerleading competition. Also, too, there is, by invitation of submission of our tape, for the Essentially Ellington, which is the last on the list. But we always do like to put these in. We oftentimes, too, will wind up with, and I was just looking at this to see if it was on there, but at times we do have relays or other track individuals or groups that will also advance. That's not on there at the moment. We'll know further into the seasons whether or not we'll be adding an additional overnight. But the others are our student council lock-in. It is an all-nighter that happens, it's at a different high school every year to host, and it'll be at Middleborough this year. Of course, our Spanish and our French exchange programs, and the trip to London that will be taking place. We also have the MASC, which is again a student council. This is the state conference that is held each year. It's held in Hyannis. It's a 2.5-day workshop and conference with 1,000 students coming to it from across the state.
Diana, can I interrupt you just
Sure.
for one moment? I'm sorry, just before you move on from the trip to London, England. What group sponsors that?
It's actually teachers out of our English department. Shannon Wazalewski is the teacher that has headed that particular program for the past few
Have a
years.
cultural trip, they go to theater,
And
they,
it's theater.
It's
they do a lot of
Shakespeare, theater.
Shakespeare,
Okay,
you know,
it just didn't,
visits.
it didn't, I think it was just,
Yeah. It's like
didn't
the
say that on the,
cultural,
Yes.
okay.
but choice.
There's
Okay.
a travel company that they use, and it's EF Travel.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
The Student Council Conference, as I had mentioned, the All-State Music Festival, and then our music department this year is going in April, and the trip that they have planned is the music festival that will take place in Toronto and Ottawa.
Great. Do we know who the chaperones will be for Spanish or French? Do we know, Karen?
For Spanish, it's Irene Tippis and Christine Smith. And for French, it's Debbie Grant and Kevin Joseph.
Great. I know, and the London, when the teacher was also doing all the drama, it came out of that, and now somebody else is doing the drama here, but she still continues it because
Okay.
it's been very successful.
Yes, I just couldn't remember.
She actually
Okay, great.
teaches a drama semester course, which
She does. She teaches the
Where have you
regular
been in?
course. She just doesn't do the
With the
extracurricular.
We're in it last
extracurricular,
year.
I'm
The
sorry.
She doesn't do the
I said that
co-curricular, but she
incorrectly.
does do the, she does still
drama,
teach the
so
course.
she had done the co-curricular drama for a while, but
Right.
hasn't more recently been doing that.
And
Okay,
that's
so-
always been successful too, ever since she started it.
So we need a motion then, right?
Yes,
To accept
motion
the
to
travel
I definitely
approve-
motion to
Motion to
approve
approve
this.
the overnight trips.
for the 2013,
So listed.
2014 school year.
I'll second Bev's motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like some great trips.
Well, you might as well stay right where you are.
Sue, do you want to come
Okay, we're gonna go move on to
Oh, okay.
school improvement
we were
plans.
doing this as a
Yes,
joint here.
the last meeting, we had your elementary school improvement
Yes.
plans. And look, isn't that, what a great team. We have Michelle and McCarthy and Mike Stanton here to support their colleagues since, sort of accidentally, the secondary principals were here last meeting, and so I pretended that was their support. And so I made a joke about them coming back to support, and I guess they took it as a serious.
They did,
But look at that. Isn't that great?
including Mr.
So,
Regan, who called.
anyway,
who
thanks for
said-
being here for support.
Absolutely.
We'll see how much they need it.
And-
So we have the high school.
I was just going to say, Mr. Regan also said that he was going to be here, but unfortunately, he has to attend another school committee in his
In his
town tonight for his son. So I said that was quite okay. Our strategic plan is a 3-year plan, and it has been a 3-year plan from the high school in the recent past. We have 3 major objectives, but fleshed out under those 3 major objectives are smaller objectives. And all 3 of these are rooted in our core values. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things, but in our first core value, one of the things that we really pulled out and gleaned out was that at FHS, we will provide challenging and innovative educational experiences that promote academic excellence by meeting the need of students in ways that will engage them in their learning. And the overall objective that is falling under that is that we will continue to offer curriculum and instruction that is rigorous and dynamic and that promotes high levels of student achievement. Now, within this first objective, this is probably the most lengthy because each of the departments went through and put in what their specific goals and their specific strategies were. But we also have some overall and just a couple of that I'm going to highlight for you and to highlight for the public as well. You had the report card last week or the last school committee meeting or a couple of school committee meetings ago, and we're still going to move along that same line. We have continual goals to make sure that our MCAS scores will stay at the proficient and at the advanced, and that we want to take the percentage of students that may be in a failing or may be in a needs improvement and continue to move everybody up. We want to continue to see that our SAT scores are going to stay where they are or again improve. A personal goal for me, and continues to be, is that every student will have an opportunity to take an advanced placement course while they're here in high school as preparation for whatever they may do after high school. So those are some of those pieces that are there as a part of the report card. But to flesh out a few things that are kind of some highlights. The big things is we continue to move forward. We want to make sure that we are connected and that we do have the crossroads with the Common Core in all of our subject areas. Along with that comes common assessments and expanding those beyond midterms and final exams and moving those into unit tests. Making sure that all of our curriculum is written under a common template, that we will also help our students as we transition from MCAS to the PARCC testing that is going to be coming eventually down the road. So what can we do? What's going to be in place? Part of that will be the writing of and the working through of CEPAs. CEPA, you'll be hearing much more. Those are curriculum embedded performance assessments whereby students are actually demonstrating their knowledge, not just being able to give back rotely, but actually being able to demonstrate what they understand, how they understand it. We can measure growth over time with our students. And of course, part of this too, under this particular, as far as the rigor is concerned, is that we are going to continue to work with our NEASC recommendations and continue to grow our school based in, again, the concepts of NEASC, which are very grounded in research for decades, that follows right along. So just a couple of things highlighted under our first one on that rigor of instruction assessment and curriculum. Our second objective, again, embedded in the core values, is that we want to continue to provide a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment that fosters positive attitudes among students and staff. So, and this is page 11. You bounce up several pages in the plan. With our overarching goal is to continue to strengthen school culture, ensuring that students, staff, and all stakeholders here in the building feel valued, safe, and have a voice in what is happening in our programs here. So two major areas are our continuation of our response to intervention, which is really a program to identify, monitor, and provide appropriate interventions for all students in a wide variety of ways. And so for us, that's ongoing professional development for our teachers of how can they really work with a diverse group of students in their classroom. While we may not be as culturally diverse as some communities, we certainly are emotionally diverse, academically diverse, socially diverse. So it's how do we meet all of those needs of our students as well? How can we identify those students before things start to go downhill too quickly? And also, on the flip side, is to also continue to really highlight the things that our students are doing well. It may not be the A student, but it might be the consistent B student. It might be attendance and just improving attendance, homework, whatever it might be. And a part of that is through the Student Strong program and recognition for students that way. It's little things, but they can certainly mean a lot to our students. And this is the fourth year of our Warrior Huddle. It's a 4-year program because we are, our huddles are based with students in the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th grade. So the curriculum needed to be a different curriculum for 4 years. This is the 4th year of this program. So we're going to be looking for the data. We're going to be looking for input. We're going to be looking for us to do a review. What's working well? What do we need to maybe take a look at and do a little bit differently? What do we need to emphasize? What's changed over 4 years? So maybe our focus might be a little bit different in the coming year. So it's always keeping up on that particular program, which we view as being so important. And again, the Warrior Huddle, the idea behind that is that it is an advisory program where all students in our building are connected to another adult within this building who are not necessarily a classroom teacher, but somebody else that they can make that connection to, go to, have as a point person should they need. And then our third objective, again, embedded in our core values, is that respect for the diversity and dignity of individuals and cultures enriches learning and supports the development of responsible citizenship. And again, how many times do we continue to hear preparing our students for the 21st century, and yet we're in the second decade of the 21st century? So it really is embedding in everything that we do those 4 C's that are so important of collaboration, thinking critically, using creativity and communication, and really embedding those in our students so that when they do graduate, it's a part of their everyday life and what they do in decision-making for a direction of career or direction of college and whichever way they may go. And again, what can we do to help provide? Well, our senior project is one of those pieces this year that we're so very excited about, adding courses along the way for our students where there can be an interest and might be an interest, and you'll be hearing more about some of those courses as our program of studies comes out. And also to work on embedding the skills in project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, where students are continuously needing to cooperate with each other, communicate with each other, and really put into practice the things that we're expecting of them when they graduate. So I've really given it to you kind of in a thumbnail sketch, but it's what good education is all about and what we want to continue to do for our students here at the high school.
Your discussion about the Warrior Huddle, will you be coming back to the committee to kind of give us an update on? I would love to hear. I mean, I think it's just such a wonderful program. I really do.
Maybe during the guidance.
Yeah, that would be,
Sure.
if possible. I mean, if you're ready at that time.
May not be, but we may have some information that we
okay.
can get to you at that point.
Okay. I also wanted to ask, I know in the past, normally we put these online just for people at home. So was that something that you'll be?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And I know you have a list of council members, and myself having been a former
Yes.
IGO council member and a HERN council member, I know there's a lot of people that help and contribute that goes into this, so.
Absolutely.
Would you
I
like to
don't know
read
if
the
you-
I
names
would
of
be
your
happy
school
to.
council members?
I would be happy to. An ongoing community member who has been a member for a number of years and has just really been such a contributor, I think, to the school council for probably decades now is Mr. Bruce Hainsworth, who is our community member. And then we do have our parent representatives of Joanne Bellata and Karen Conley and Marilyn Weiss. And then our teachers, Sarah Burns, who just was married, so Sarah Himberger, who some people may know her better as of this fall, she was married, and Sue Hutchinson, who has been on for a number of years now, and she's going to be retiring at the end of, I don't know if that's public, but she may be moving on next year, excuse that. And Kathleen Porter has also been a member too. And then our student representatives this year, Brenna Lincoln and Frank Napoli, and I'm going to say her name incorrectly, Huang Lin. So I have to thank all of them as well. They've just been incredible contributors and always with a different eye to look in and different contributions to be putting forth. So yes, thank you. I should have mentioned them to begin with.
Oh, thank you. Does anybody else have any comments?
Go ahead, no, please.
Steve. It looks like a lot of work went into it. It was a very thorough school improvement plan. I enjoyed reading it. And I do look forward to hearing what you have to say about the Warrior Huddle. I think it's an interesting program. And I know just reading the feedback that was in the newspaper in the Warrior Ward last week was interesting and
It is.
enlightening. I thought generally it was very well received. So I'll look forward to that report as well. Your turn.
Please.
I'm really interested in seeing how the senior project comes out.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm like giddy, and I think it's going to be terrific.
Yes.
And it can only go up from there, right?
That's what we're hoping for.
To complement the senior project idea and what we just voted on for for school trips, is there anything do the trips, can they complement somehow the senior project or something like that? I don't know if it is or if it's part of it.
Well, I'll throw this out there because it wasn't specifically put into here, but it's something that we're looking at, and so not to commit us, but to still move us in that direction is really taking a look at the possibility of a global citizen designation for some of our students. And there's more to come with that. I've been involved with some principals in some other schools that have really taken a look at this idea of what does it mean to be a citizen of the globe today. And a part of that is certainly travel and other experiences that students may well have. Maybe it's even hosting an exchange student along the way. They may not do the travel, but it could be on the other parts. So there could be some more information coming forward on that as we go along over the next year to year and a half on it.
Thank you.
And can I just put a plug in if there isn't anything else on the school improvement plan? I do just want to thank everybody. Oh, I have to thank the department heads too for their contributions to this improvement plan as well. But we had a fabulous, and I don't know, Mrs. Spinelli, if you were going to mention it, a fabulous career day
Yes,
last
I'm
week.
going to mention other matters, but let's talk about it now.
Okay, so
Before people turn the channel.
it was absolutely.
Who's going to turn the channel, Debbie?
You don't know.
You never know. So for everybody out there, it was an absolutely fabulous day. It's my first experience with it here at the high school, and it's been held every 2 years. And so this was the year, and our juniors and our seniors were able to choose from 25 or 30 different representatives of different types of careers. Everything from physical therapists to animal behaviorists to tattoo artists who kids flocked to like you wouldn't believe.
They did.
Incredible, and the backgrounds that folks had about all of the above, to chefs, to you name it, we had it. And I think one of the overwhelming themes that we continued to hear, or at least I did, is because I was trying to bounce through all of the rooms to see everybody who was in, was you need to find a passion, you need to find something that you love, but you also need to continue to learn. You can't ever stop that process, regardless of what it is. And for some folks, it was the first career for forever. For other folks, it was a second or a third career. And it was just a fabulous, fabulous morning. And I know the feedback from the folks that I had spoken to, and Mrs. Spinelli has a connection to too, was just that they were so impressed with our students as well, with how our students responded to them, the questions that were being asked, et cetera. So I just want to, again, say thank you to all the community members who were involved in that, to Ellen Pillsbury and the guidance department who really did work incredible hours to put that whole thing together and for our students.
Let's mention Ellen Pillsbury and all her, her as the school to career specialist, really put all of it together. But I have to compliment our kids because they really signed up for things they wanted to hear about, and they were wonderful audiences and very interested and very mature. So I heard a lot of the presenters say what great kids we have here, including two that I may personally be related to or having given birth to, perhaps. But I think they were impressed because these kids were more mature than they remembered themselves being in high school, which is a great compliment to our student body. And I think also, I visited as many as I could, but I do think that there was a common theme among some of the sessions that I heard, which is follow your passion, and you don't have to be the top of your class. You don't have to be the best in school. You just have to do well enough to get yourself to the next spot in life, and don't sell yourself short. So don't think you have to be at the top of your class to pursue the career or the passion that you want. You don't. You just have to have the drive, and you have to work hard. And I think that a lot of them saying just work hard and keep going. And I thought that was a great message to all young children, young teenagers.
I think that goes hand in hand. If you love to do something, then you are going to want to work hard.
Right.
And I think that's a great message. I always try to tell my kids the same thing about try to find something that you love to do.
It was a great
So
morning, very
I'm
well
really impressed.
coordinated.
It
and
sounds,
we had people from technology. There was an impassioned science teacher who was wearing all the gear. Oh, he was
Playing the
hilariously
guitar,
funny.
singing all the elements. It was unbelievable. Listen to the different things that were going on that morning.
Mr.
Just-
Charpentier has kids sing the elements too, though. I just didn't want
I know.
to. I didn't
I
want
know.
to. I didn't want to disrespect our guests, but I was going to say my children can sing the elements too. It just happens to be to the Beach Boys' Kokomo song, not the one that this science teacher did. So anyhow, so kudos to our people who do some of those great
They
things
do.
too.
So again, thank you.
I think we need to accept
Yes.
the school improvement plan. So we need a motion to accept the Foxborough High School school
I'll
improvement
make the
plan.
motion to accept the Foxborough High School
Need a
School
second?
Improvement Plan.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? 4-0.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much
so
for your
much.
presentation and your hard work. Now we have
All
Ms.
right,
Abram.
and it's Mrs. Abrams' turn. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And get a little preview of some of the things that we're doing on our school improvement plan from the Teaching and Learning Highlight. One of the things that we've done is the same as the high school and the elementary school. So we've organized our school improvement plan with the core values and the strategic plan objectives. So under the core value of challenging and innovative educational experiences, promoting academic excellence by meeting the needs of students in ways that engage them in learning, and offering a curriculum that's rigorous and dynamic. I think that you see how Readers Writers Workshop fits into that core value as well as fitting into all the others. As I was sitting here listening, I was thinking and watching the collaborative work, and I had a moment to reflect and say, well, this is collaborative work. That's a 21st century skill. It does that. It promotes, let's see, excuse me for looking, a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment. And that is one where we think of being kind to each other, so everybody is working together. It strengthens the respect for diversity. It really does everything, and it kind of mimics the work of the future. So as kids are learning, they are learning to be independent workers. They are learning to follow their interests and their passions. They're learning skills at the level that they can understand them and apply them on their own material. So each student is really working on their ELA goal. You can see in the plan, the state gives us our target data points. So they're all there, but basically, we want our students to be the best they can be as soon as they can be there and feel good about themselves. So in the area of ELA, Readers Writers Workshop is something that we've worked very hard for, and it continues, as Sue Forrest said, following flexible grouping, and it's sort of a logical extension of our looking at our data, collaborating as teacher teams, and implementing best practices in a way that we feel that will show results. So that was the ELA part. In math, we're continuing to, I feel, strengthen students' knowledge and foundations in math. And one of the things that we're doing this year is to add a mini assessment, which is refining the formative assessment, where we can sort of dipstick students, you know, during the term, not only individually in the classroom, walking around and observing what they're doing, on quizzes and tests, but on basic skills, previously taught skills in a mini assessment. So the students take 3 or 4 times a quarter, just a 6 problem little quiz, and the teacher can say, oops, we haven't really internalized that concept, so let's go back to that, and which students have and haven't. So that's how we're refining and continuing on our growth in math. In science, we're doing quite a few things, actually. We are not only looking at how we keep students' knowledge of the 3rd and 4th grade science curriculum alive and fresh in grade 5 as we're teaching that, and the 6th and 7th science curriculum alive while we're teaching the grade 8. And don't worry, we'll get it all figured out. But we're also continuing the robotics program beyond the first Lego League competition, which is this Saturday, North Quincy High School, 9 to 5. We have our team. It's the first qualifying event.
Wow.
And we're also adding an engineering after-school club for students. We're working with some engineers that engineer your futures. So we're adding more science STEM programs within the school day and also after school. And
That's the program out of the Museum of Science, correct? Engineer Your Future. It comes from this Museum of Science.
There's 2 different ones that were.
2 different.
Yeah, this is a different one.
A different one.
This is the competition.
This is the competition.
And that you're talking about Engineering Adventures. This is
No, Engineering Your Future is also an acronym, a phrase that Museum of Science uses. Everybody's engineering a future or a world or something, but Engineering
Adventures.
Your Future is a Museum of Science program.
Well, I know the man's
as well
name.
as Engineering Adventures.
Right. Well, we're going to be
But this is
engineering
something different.
Whatever it is.
Somebody else's future.
Somebody else's future, but ours, to try
Our high
to
school
increase
one
the
is world.
opportunities.
Engineering Your World.
Correct. To increase opportunities for kids to really pursue their mathematical side of their brain. In terms of the core value, a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment, we're continuing to strengthen the school culture and ensuring that students, staff, and stakeholders feel valued, safe, and have a voice. One of the things that we're doing this year is we're incorporating the school climate task force that we had last year into our student council. And that will broaden our base of student leaders in terms of how people act towards each other. Another thing that we have done, which is a little subtle, but I think so far is effective in helping build student self-esteem and positive acts towards each other because of feeling better, is incorporate the second step activities into the regular curriculum, allowing in grade 7 and 8 that 25 minutes to be extra help periods during the school day. So kids are more successful, feel better about themselves, and therefore are treating each other with a great deal more respect. That's on page 5. An additional thing that we're doing is having a program in January, and this is a plug. Katie Greer is coming. She went to Mansfield and worked for Mansfield Public Schools over 2 days, and the Mansfield PAC invited Foxborough families, so we sent out blurbs, and some of the parents went and really thought it was very, very
She's a national
useful.
speaker, just to give you a little, she's a national speaker on
how do we keep our kids safe in this technology-driven world. So she'll be coming to the middle school and the high school on January 21st, and she will be speaking to parents on the evening of the 21st. Mark your calendars. We just don't know which place. The high school has a larger auditorium, but they have many more events. The middle school can seat 487, so we can assess our audience and have Katie come. And I think that for the internet safety, as students often receive technology gifts over the holiday break that's upcoming, we like to address the safe use of it in the month of January so that they can learn how to use it appropriately. And we are going to be looking at our recognition programs at all grade levels with the school council. For the respect for the diversity and dignity of individuals and preparing students for the 21st century, we are increasing our use of technology. We're using staff development. We started last spring with allowing students to bring their own devices to school to kind of put our toes in the water to see how did that affect, help, hurt the classroom environment. Kids were fine, teachers were fine, worked out well. This year, we are embarking on adding wireless, which we may have by the beginning of the year. Students have already signed permission slips to bring in their devices, and we have set up in the grade 8 group spaces a really kind of a nice library type environment. It's in progress. We have some beautiful tables Mr. Yukna got for us, and we've ordered some chairs. The kids are kind of excited. They're sitting down at them. They're touching the wood and the inlay. We had them vote on the chairs. We had them sit in different
we
chairs.
get a lot of free tables, but aren't they beautiful?
Oh, they are beautiful. Yeah. They were free, but they are beautiful. And kids are respecting them, and they feel important. So we'll be starting there. So, and we hope it's a place where students can work together, and they can come out of the classroom working groups during the classroom, during the 20 minutes, and prepare themselves for the freedom that they will find in high school, because with freedom comes responsibility. Another thing that we're doing in terms of technology is participating in the Hour of Code. That's Computer Science Education Week, December 9th through 15th. I brought it to the teachers, and already 2 of the teachers had signed their students up, so all of the Ahern students will be participating in an Hour of Code. I will leave this information for you in either their art or computer classes during that week. And there's a lot of tutorials, there's some information where people can learn how to critically think by working on these computer programs on computer code. And that's csedweek.org. csedweek.org. It has some nice information and some fun things for kids to do. And again, ensuring a quality education cultivated by ongoing communication and shared resources and maintaining strong support for public education. One of the things that we've tried to do is reach out to parents a little bit more. I think Katie Greer is a big reach because I think many parents are interested in learning about how to keep their kids safe in this high-tech world. And we've already done a couple of nights for parents. We had a grade 6 through 8 math night to introduce our new math program and the online resources. And then we had a grade 7 writing night. So in these small venues, to bring parents in, and we've gotten some positive response from that. And of course, we get some more volunteers. So, bringing parents participating into the building as well as they are participating greatly with students with their homework at home through Power School, emails, and other communication devices. So each step is a little step towards, everybody coming together and helping the kids be the best that they can be and feel good about themselves, especially at that middle school age, which always has a few little bumps to it. I do want to thank the parent representatives, school representatives, and community representatives. Lorraine Grant has been a community representative, and she left and made a space for Mike Weber to join us as a community rep with some free technology advice. Parent representatives, Jeff Ames, thanks to Kristen Cady, who is no longer a representative because her child is no longer in the middle school. Linda Leary is a representative currently. Michelle Gardner is a current representative, and Cheryl Moran also left with her child. Tom Gill and Colin Vogel-Gasang, who, having been on the school council for a number of years, gave their spaces to Noah Lai and Maureen Brawley, and Julie Grant is a teacher representative. So we have a diverse group of people spread over multiple grades and many disciplines, parents who have a great deal to offer us. And I'm thrilled with the people that we have working for our students. And I have just one more plug for the Ahern Play, which is Friday night, 7 p.m. Have I got news for you? That's the title. And Saturday at 2 p.m. So if you're interested in going to a show, it'll be a nice show. If you're interested in robotics, North Quincy High School, 9 to 5. And there's something for everybody to do this weekend in the middle school.
Sue, thank you. I know we need a motion for this, but I just want to say, we heard from the elementary schools, we've heard from the middle school and the high school. The work that people, students, teachers, community representatives, it's just so impressive. And I think, I want these to get up online so that people see what is going on in the classes, what's going on after school, and there is so much here. There is so much good work going on, and I just think we should just be so proud of the work that's gone into these improvement plans. I'm really impressed by them.
And last time we saw a lot of consistency and alignment with the strategic plan, and now you see even more.
Yes.
And while they each have their own flavor, what's going on at the school, you do see consistencies across the school improvement plans as well. So kudos to how well the team works together. Really,
There's so much initiative going on, so much initiative and creativity, and really trying to think out of the box and use not only the internal resources, which we saw today, at the beginning, but also looking at external resources like these individuals you're bringing in to provide information to the community and to parents, and
a lot of positive energy.
Yes.
I give them all the credit.
I don't know if anybody else has any other comments.
I just wanted to thank, before we make our motion, I wanted to thank Sue for bringing Katie Greer here and working with the high school to get her here, because I didn't have the opportunity to go see her in Mansfield, but I know several parents who did, who felt very, very strongly that she would be a really good person to speak to our children and to our parents, and that this is going to be a very important program.
Amy's seen her before in another
in Plainville as well.
Yes. So thank you for getting right on that and getting her here in January, because I think the sooner the better with safety and digital safety. So that's good. And I'd be happy to make a motion that we accept the John J. Ahern Middle School School Improvement Plan as
Any
presented.
second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great job, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you. Yes, for the support.
You never know, they might have needed help.
We're going to move on to FPS Technology Plan Update, Ms. Spinelli.
Yes, so as you know, we came to the committee with the very first roughish draft in September, beginning of September, of our newly rolled out Foxborough Public Schools Technology Plan. And as you remember, it was a much more comprehensive plan than we had in place before, which is kind of a plan that had been limited to infrastructure and all of that. But we really wanted to be able to better capture where we're really trying to go with technology for teaching and learning purposes, as well as put the typical techie stuff involved. So since we were here in September, we met with, and when I say we, Bill Yugna, Amy Bertos, Paul Bortolotti, and I met with 4 community technology experts who volunteered their time very generously just to give us their feedback on the plan. And that was Steve Conley, Peter Proctor, Christine Lathrop, and Mike Tedescucci. So we had a really good meeting with them, and they asked a lot of good questions, and they are certainly tech experts. So we do envision staying engaged with them along the way, and got a lot out of that night. So we want to thank them for their time and their contributions. In addition, the draft plan was reviewed by our entire administrative team over a couple of meetings, and Amy and Paul presented it to the district's technology steering committee, and Amy to the professional development committee. So we've really received feedback from 4 different groups, and as a result, Amy and I revised the plan in several areas so that we could have more clarity and cohesiveness. So we got some really good tips, like, all of the places we were drawing information from, whether it was the National Technology Plan, whether it was the COSIN documents, whether it was our own technology leadership study, if you will, that we spent last year on what is our role in technology leadership as school administrators. So they had really good suggestions, like you might want to better link the themes that you're talking about with the waves of technology acquisition and use. So we went back and did those. Those are really good suggestions to help the reader make those connections in a little more explicit way. And also to revisit our timeline. So a lot of our timelines are long, we realize that. We filled in as much as we could. This plan is never going to be complete as in done, and we can't cross another T. So we're close enough that this is the plan we're implementing this year and that we will be evaluating this year. So we acknowledge some parts of the plan are still a work in progress, but we think at this point we really have a pretty good, viable working document. So we thought we'd provide that for you so that you have the latest version, that we are going to just call it a day at this point and work with this version. We do consider it a living document, so every year we're going to be revisiting it.
It has to be a living document.
Changes by the time you go to sleep and wake up the next day.
Right.
The one thing we are doing that I think is really exciting is that at the MassQ conference in October, which was here at Gillette, the statewide conference of superintendents and the MassQ organization, which is Massachusetts Computer Using Educators. So they have a joint conference every fall. And we went to a workshop on the MassQ Evaluators, which is actually a team that MassQ supports, that they train district administrators and personnel and teachers in how to, I'll read it right off their thing. It's a professional development activity that engages district teams around the development of program evaluations about instructional technology initiatives. So they actually will come in and train your team on, if this is your plan or this is your initiative, how do you establish indicators to measure those? So it really then could be applicable to measuring any initiative or coming back to evaluate your success and your progress. So that's certainly an area that we are interested in growing and learning a little bit more. So we've now looked at this huge new tech plan. How are we going to assure ourselves, never mind the public and the committee, that we are measuring the things we said we do? So we have signed ourselves up for that, and it's like any professional development activity. We'll be paying them to come and work with our team. We do expect to have about 10 people involved, which is us 4 in central office, an elementary principal, a secondary principal, an elementary teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, and our technology integration specialist, and we're going to get started in January. So it's 4 full days, where it's 3 days of training, and how we're gonna collect those indicators, what are our indicators, and how we're gonna collect data. Then we go off and engage in data collection, and then we come back in April with a plan. So it should take us about 4 months, and then we'll have more tools in our toolkit about how to evaluate any technology initiative or our whole plan. For us, we're gonna tackle the whole plan, but anytime in the future we're trying to evaluate an initiative, this will give us a structure for doing that, so.
So will you identify those indicators in January through this?
We'll
work?
identify them over the course
Or-
of the 3 first full days, which will be January, February.
Okay, and then in April, you'll
We'll have
evaluate those
a
indicators?
plan,
and
we'll
how-
collect data and see where we are. And then we'll probably, now, once we're trained, we'll repeat that process
Right.
each year. What do we want to measure now? Because some of these things won't be ready to measure
Right.
away, and some will be. So we'll have much more training in how to go about program evaluation in terms of a research methodology that is transferable to any other initiative. So we're pretty excited about doing that. So it was something we attended, and actually we talked to them right after, and I just said, where do we sign up? Because this is something that'll be really good for us, so that we don't just say we have a plan, we think we're doing okay. We're actually going to have a methodology for measuring our progress in a huge plan like this. So
That's awesome.
we're in. We're starting, I think, on Tuesday, January 7th.
Okay.
We have our first day. So they have all kinds of things about what do you identify as measurable, and how do you think you're going to measure it, and how do you go about doing all of that. So it's quite, this is their second year. They did offer it to school districts last year and learned a lot from those districts who participated, which was quite a bit. So what are we claiming we're going to do in the plan, what our indicator's going to be, and how will we be able to measure that? So that's our next step.
Okay, very impressive. Does anyone have any questions about the plan for the team? No. Well, I think it's great. I'm really excited about this seminar, this.
Me too.
Because I think, it's, what's key is what you identify in terms of the indicators.
And I think
that's a
mean,
really important piece.
I know what your impression, but my impression was, if we go through this training process, we'll also be better at writing a plan in the future, because we will know better how, what, if our central claims are even measurable, or if the direction we're trying to go is measurable or worth spending time on. So I think that's.
Will you come back, then give us an update on?
Well, we have an update on this, I think, in February, I think it is.
Okay.
That, let me look.
That'll
If,
be
our,
out.
our shared goals.
Yes.
So one of our shared goals, let me just see, I'll keep it right in here, is to,
Is it February?
oh, here it is. Well, we said we'd provide an update in the fall, and then around May, we said spring.
Okay.
So.
That would give you
this is-
time.
This is December, so
Okay.
here's your update. But, but I think it would be, I put May question mark on my page, because I think we would like to complete that process with
Yes.
Mass Q evaluators in April.
Yes.
And then in May, before we get too close to the end of the year, come back and tell you where we are and what we learned about our plan, and what we learned about our methodology through that. So I'm shooting for May, if that sounds good.
I think that sounds perfect timing.
If you want to give any.
No, I just think that a number of things, kind of going back to the plan with community members, it was really helpful, because they come from, an IT big picture, and I think it really kind of solidified some of the things that we already had, so it made us feel good about the track that we were on. And then with the Mass Q evaluators, it's going to help us in those points that Debbie was saying, as far as what and how do we go about measuring? I mean, we think in particular areas when we look at the technology that whether it's purchasing or how it's being integrated, but it can be difficult to measure as far as how that is being implemented. And to have that process will be a helpful tool for us.
Great. Okay, we look forward to hearing then back after all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to educator evaluation update, Ms. Spinelli.
Yes, if you've been reading the Boston Globe or any other of the media outlets, you see that the Department of Education has started to release some results of educator evaluation ratings, and it's the first time that educator evaluation ratings of any kind have been made public. So this is definitely a new venture into public education in the state of Massachusetts and across the country. Some other states started this last year with the public ratings. So what I included for you is the press release from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The press release called "First Year of Educator Evaluation Ratings Show the Majority of Teachers in Massachusetts are performing at high levels." So it outlined that in the state of Massachusetts, in Race to the Top districts who were required to implement this system last year, when we are one of those, 60% of Massachusetts educators in those Race to the Top districts were evaluated last year using the new educator evaluation model. The Department of Ed required 50% in individual districts, so they're 60% statewide. They met the goal, collectively or in the aggregate, I would say. But while we were required to report 50 and the state reported 60 altogether, really happy to report that 98.9% of Foxborough educators were evaluated last year. And the only reason we weren't 100, I have to say, because we're all about being right out there with everything, the only reason we weren't 100 is because when we went to report all the EdEval ratings in August, which was their data collection point, we discovered that they had just made a new rule that if you have a long-term substitute teacher that's in a classroom or position greater than 90 days, so if you have somebody out on a medical or maternity leave and it happens to go longer than 90 days, that they are now going to require that those people be evaluated for that 3-month period or whatever the 4-month period as a full-time permanent teacher would be. So that was not known to us last year. So long-term substitutes were not rated with the new evaluation system because that was news to us in August when our data came back not 100%. It took us a long time to be calling and using, I want to thank Erica Scannell, our data person, just all of us collectively working on these ratings and the submission of it and asking questions. Then we found out that that's what they had decided. So going forward, we'll know that. And so we had 3 long-term subs last year in assignments greater than 90 days, and we didn't evaluate them using the new model because
You were unaware of it.
we were unaware of it, and it didn't seem like you're going to establish goals, you're going to have a mid-cycle review, and you're going to have a summative all in that, say, 3 to 4 month period is what's going to have to happen. So not knowing that, we didn't do it. So except for those 3 long-term subs, everybody was evaluated.
Wow. That's
So-
impressive.
excellent.
Yes,
So
that's
I would
wonderful.
like to acknowledge the hard
Yes.
work of principals, assistant principals, and department heads in meeting that challenging goal, and honestly, our teachers, because they have such dedication to high professional standards, and they are so willing to learn together and learn alongside their colleagues, and we worked out all the glitches throughout the year, and not that there weren't any, because there always are with something that big, and we learned from them as well, so I want to thank them. So you will see when these ratings become public that our ratings in the aggregate will be in there. So for example, if a particular group has fewer than 5 in it, 5 or fewer, let me just look that up if 5 is included. They won't report that because then individuals become identifiable, for example. So I'm only one superintendent, you're not going to see my ratings publicly in there because I'm a group of 1. You wouldn't see Amy's in there. However, administrators as a whole are grouped together. So they'll separate, all of us are considered, we are all considered educators. So you'll see that it will say all educators, which includes all of us, and then it will say all teachers, and non-teachers would be administrators and other people. So we had to actually look up, I had to have our data person look up because we're listed as having 28 administrators. So in our administrator group, there are 28 people. I'm thinking 28 people. So we had to go back and see who's tagged as an administrator. So we did confirm through our data submission and through a PowerPoint that I went to actually about educator evaluation recently, is that they have a whole bunch of categories that are considered administrators. So I'll tell you who they are. So for us, they are principals, assistant principals, central office administrators, department heads, curriculum coordinators, anyone in a coordination type of role. And so that does add up to 28 here because it also includes our special ed facilitators. If you're a team facilitator, that person would be included. So pretty much it does add up to 28. We have about 14 department heads and curriculum coordinator people, and we have 9 principals or assistant principals, and then central office people. So that's really the 3 groups, 14, 9, and then the rest of us. So we have a list of who is tagged, because they have field codes, depending on your role in the district, so everybody is coded. So we just had to extract who was coded as a non-teacher, and that includes, our early childhood coordinator who only works, she teaches half-time, and she's an early childhood coordinator, and she has to be evaluated as an administrator, so she's included, and anybody else in that type of category would be included. So you will see when the ratings become public, if you're wondering who the 28 administrators are, I just want to tell you, because it does sound like, what are we doing with 28 administrators? But it really does include anybody who functions even part of their time in a non-teaching capacity. That's really what it means. So we have,
That's good clarification for the
yes,
public.
and
because-
of all the Race to the Top
the
districts, of which that's the
Eyebrows.
majority of Massachusetts, there were really only 17 districts, us being one of the 17, who approach 100%. So greater than 95%, greater than or equal to 95%, there were only 17 school districts. So I think we did well
Yes.
for our
absolutely.
first year in terms of getting all that done. And we are really learning from the process all the way around, so. So that's it.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Great.
And I did include for you, I think, in addition to the memo, at the end, you can see Foxborough, the last page. Did you see that?
Yes, you did.
So that's a summary of Foxborough data that was put in. that
Do they
was
have
arranged.
that, do they have a summary of, across the state of what has been done like
Well,
this?
they,
Do you know?
Yes,
I took
right
that from
here.
your first page, and compared to the
This-
state, we were 80, the
I
state's.
have every district in here.
Am I correct in my, it's statewide, it was 85.2% that were proficient with all educators versus,
I have
I
to
think you
look.
said that in your front page.
60% were, you know what, it could be in the, press release. So
Yes,
there were
I
a
think it
couple of
was-
things that I highlighted
Yeah.
in the.
So what I found was 85.2 statewide percent proficient, and we have 95.8% compared to the state.
That's possible, yes.
And compared to the percentage that of needs improvement, 6.8% statewide, and we had 2.
Yeah. I think actually the press release had some interesting points, one of which was from the Education Secretary, Matt Malone, who said,
Yeah.
our students are leading the nation in reading and mathematics achievement, as we heard through the
Yes.
NAEP study. So it's not surprising that we also have some of the best teachers in the country, because we're achieving it pretty high.
I think it's
And
very
then the
impressive.
president of the Mass Teachers Association said, as we continue to roll out this new system, people should not draw conclusions about relative school quality based on these results, since professional judgment and local context will inevitably lead to some differences in how administrators apply the new ratings. The goal of evaluation is to help identify educators' strengths and weaknesses so that we can improve teaching and learning in all schools. And I thought that really captured
Yes.
what the intent is of the new system that we do wholeheartedly agree with.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. We will move on to overnight parking on school property in winter.
Yes, you may have read in last week's report that the police chief, as he does every year, asked the town to ban overnight parking on roadways and on public parking lots, and so that they can plow more easily if we were to get a snowstorm. So that took place went into effect yesterday, December 1st, as they always do. And each year, the chief asks the school committee support in also taking a vote to not allow overnight parking on school property. It's not so much of an issue for us. For example, if somebody near a school leaves a car overnight during the summer, that does happen. But when it's in winter, we really have to enforce it, because otherwise, when the DPW gets out there to plow, it's really a detriment to the efficiency of their operation, and it results in unsafe lots for us once we do open. So he would like a motion for the school committee to approve the overnight parking ban on school property during the winter.
And when does the winter end officially? Do we have a end date?
I do not know.
Oh,
Like,
Joe?
usually March 20th is the first day of spring.
I think you're right.
Okay.
But if you
Give
own-
me a date.
That's okay.
If
We
you
don't
own my snow blower, it never ends, because I can never get the dust
Well,
on.
last winter, we had snow all the way through March.
We did.
So
We'll just-
But
we won't worry.
I think Joe's
Yeah.
right.
I think
Probably
he's
near the
right.
end of
I would
March.
go with
Okay, we can always clarify that with the
Yes.
chief. So do I have a motion?
I motion that we
motion? Okay.
accept the the ordinance for the winter
Okay.
as written and presented. Thank you.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 4-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I know many an exchange teacher has parked in my driveway for the 10 days they were away in February.
Because they can't, that's true, because they can't be
here.
They can't be
right.
in the school parking lot.
Okay, then we're going to move to other matters. I have one. Good. Maybe I'll start with mine. You know, at the last meeting, we talked about the Racino proposal, and the committee had asked me to contact Mark Sullivan, which I did, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. And I don't have a lot of information to report back, except to say that what I was informed by him was that the mitigation package was not, for lack of a better word, offered to the Board of Selectmen in terms of any kind of mitigation regarding the proposal. And he did not know of any for the school. So what he did tell me was that there is a formal report that's come out from the Racino group. And you know, because of the holiday, I did contact the town hall. They are going to send it to me electronically. Once I receive it, I will send it to Debbie or to Janet and have them send it out to the rest of the committee. And then you can all take, I think it's lengthy, so I think you know, you can find the sections that are applicable to us and then discuss it, please, and then we can talk about it at our next meeting under other matters, and then we can just move, you know, decide if we want to move from there about, needs more discussion, unless, you know, and I'm certainly open to what other people, any other requests or information about it. That's all I have
So
at this time.
this Racino committee, is it directed towards residents
They-
in Plainville?
No, this was a committee that was established by the Board of Selectmen, a subcommittee, for lack of a better word. And they.
Our Board of Selectmen.
Our Board of
Okay.
Selectmen, and they issued a report based on the proposal. I haven't read it, so I don't know all the details in it. But I don't know of any information specific to any mitigation to the town or to the school based on this proposed Racino. If anybody has any other information, maybe that they've, you know, received in the meantime since our last meeting, certainly love to hear it. If not, we'll just move forward with, I think, just reading the report, and obviously that'll be the information, and then we can discuss
Katie,
it.
do you think if we have any questions on the report, it would be possible to invite the authors of the report to come and discuss that with us at a
Yeah.
meeting, if that were to
Yes,
occur?
absolutely. I think we should all get it, you know, have a chance to look it over, and absolutely, if we want some more information.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see what's in
Yes.
it. Thank you.
So I don't know of any timeline, and I know that was the other issue, the other question that was brought up. Other than that, the report is issued, and that's what I know. It's,
So you're waiting to receive it?
yes,
Okay.
electronically, yes.
Okay.
Anything else under that? Steve, do you have anything?
Only that if it goes under other matters, and this is my naivete, okay?
Okay, sure.
If it goes, and I'll need clarification on this out of the meeting. If it goes under other matters, is it then a non-expected item and therefore has to be put somewhere else? In other words, I think other matters in the rule book or the, you know, the OML is for unanticipated issues. I could be wrong. I just want to make sure that we as a board are operating properly with wherever we place this discussion, should we have a future discussion. Does that make sense?
And you're questioning whether we're placing it appropriately?
I just
it
want
sounds
to, I
like.
just want to make sure that we place it appropriately within the bounds of OML. That's
Sure. No, well, certainly we want to adhere to that.
It feels like a minefield when I wake up in the morning with OML in my head, you know, I just never know the step.
Well,
So-
I think you have to decide if you're gonna put it on as an agenda item first,
Yeah.
and I don't hear the, so I think, let's take one step at a time. I'm just looking up to see if there's
Yeah.
anything in that
I
under
can
agenda, but
clarify
I
that
don't.
too with mask, you know, just to be.
So you wait for the report and we'll wait for the distribution of it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just says, agenda reflects what is likely to be discussed.
Right. So might fit that criteria. We'll see.
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
I'll-
okay.
yeah.
Oh, is that like is that the handbook?
That's a PowerPoint, I think,
the-
Oh,
from.
thank you, okay.
I just carry it around. It's helpful, right, Champ? That's why she always asks, why do I have so much stuff stuck in there? I say, you never know when you're gonna need it. So I have our goals in there, I have the
It's the Swiss Army
school
knife of
committee
running a
roles and
school district.
responsibilities orientation that they gave out at the MASC conference. It just went right in here. Why not put it where you can find it?
That's awesome.
But
Thank you.
I think the next step is really to decide if you're gonna put on as agenda item. So I don't know if it's at the next meeting, because I think if anything, you should have a conversation at the next meeting, because you're gonna read the report, but you can't deliberate about the report.
That's right.
So I think under other matters at the next meeting, you should deliberate about whether you want it as an agenda item, and then put it on as an agenda item. I think you have a two-step process here, which can't go wrong with a two-step process.
Well, it could also be included under informational matters. I mean, like in terms of the it couldn't be distributed to, I don't know if everybody has access to,
We'll be happy to send it out to you
Yeah.
if you send it to us. We'll
Okay.
forward it right away.
All right, shall that be our plan then,
Sounds
moving
great.
forward? Okay. Just so we're clear, our plan is, the reports will go out to everyone,
Once you receive them and send them to Janet, right?
and then under other matters, we will discuss whether we want to put it on the agenda. We'll make a final decision about that. How's that?
Okay,
Steve, how's that?
terrific.
Okay, all right, we'll do that then.
Thank you.
Anyone else have other matters?
I forwarded you an email, the AdCom would like to change their night for the hearing, the school budget hearing to February 12th, and I just asked you to get back to us as to whether you could accommodate that, so I can get back to Randy about that.
What date does that fall on?
It's a
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, just before the school vacation week.
Oh, okay.
Our original date, somebody on the AdCom or a few people can't be there, they're trying to change the schedule around to accommodate some unanticipated things when they first made the timeline, so.
What was the original date, do we know?
The 5th of February.
February 5th? Oh, yes?
It was, I had the date, it was February 5th, usually the first Wednesday in February.
Okay, so they're delaying it by a week because
Okay.
somebody's got something going on.
Does anybody have oh, wait a minute.
I
is
heard
that-
from Bruce, he can make that date.
I'm not sure that I can because of the switch, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I have no problem with it.
You got my affirmative, right?
Yeah, yes, thank you.
okay.
So that's at least
That-
3 out of
Is
5.
that vacation?
No, it's
No,
not, it's the
okay.
week
No,
before
the-
vacation
Oh,
week.
okay. Yeah,
So they're waiting for me to say, they know we're waiting for me to get your input tonight.
Okay.
Waiting for me to say, okay, we accept the change of date because.
yeah, I think that should be fine.
Okay.
Yes.
And theirs could change as well, right? I mean, sometimes this is a moving
Oh,
target.
you mean this is going to change again?
Well, I hope not, I
Let's
mean,
hope
I
not.
hope not too, but I mean, we've been.
the moving date has been a little
No,
problematic in
they'll
the
be
past, so
backed
I'm
up, though. I
hoping
mean, at that
that
point,
doesn't.
that's the last budget they look at.
Good.
And, I mean, they're gonna have to get their votes
Yeah.
taken, and the schedule
Yes.
is pretty
I-
tight.
It is.
He's
come
right, though,
the end of
one time we
February,
were
so-
delayed till March, just saying, but that's
Yeah.
not gonna happen this time.
No,
Okay.
I'm sure.
That's not usual, that's exceptional.
That was an exception. And then the high school had an open house with 7th and 8th grade parents that I've heard lots of positive things, very,
Steve and I were both
Yes.
there. It was
Yes.
fabulous. I thought Diana did a great job, and I would love to thank all the department heads and captains of teams and student council members and assistant principals who are all there to answer questions, and got a lot of wonderful feedback from everybody I talked to about it. So I'm excited.
too.
We had a
My
great
son's excited.
Student volunteer guide. She took us everywhere, places I didn't even know we had in high school.
I heard two.
And they all looked terrific
Bruce
and
went as well
well-maintained.
and
Yeah.
said that it was very impressive, and I heard from somebody else who said they were very impressed, Steve and the building committee, with the high school, how it came out. That
Yeah.
clearly this is the original high school, and you can still see that, but just thought, having been in a lot of school buildings, said it was just impressive. It's clean, it's neat, great value for the dollar in the renovation, and people were really happy. If people aren't in high school yet and haven't had a chance necessarily to engage in it, said that it was just, that the building looks beautiful. So I also want to thank our custodial staff and maintenance staff who really keep it up really well, because the place is usually pretty sparkly, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And the kids have a lot of pride. So sometimes you hear that
A lot
in
of
some,
students here love the custodians. I talk to some of them all the time. So
Great.
some of them what?
I talk to some of the custodians all the time.
Yes.
They're pretty great. They're amazing people.
Yes, and our kids are so respectful and they help do their part, so
Yes.
go all the way around. So a lot of positives.
Awesome, nice to hear. Anything
All I
else?
have. No?
Look at that, right on the money.
Great.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry. I always have a lot to say, but the bid auction was last Friday as well, and it's Steve there as well, and it was fabulous. The PTO from the borough was the organizers,
yes.
and they did Willy Wonka theme, and they just did a great job. And kudos to everyone who's involved. You know, it's a tremendous amount of work
Oh, I know.
for everyone, all 3 schools, and it was just great. I took my sister, and she lives in Milford, and she was just floored by the amount of work that had gone into it and how impressive everything was. And Matt Light and Gerard Mayo did a great job with the
really did.
auctioneering. So
It was a lot of fun. It
was
was packed. I don't
fabulous.
even think I ran into you.
No, I
Amy
didn't
and I
see
went
you,
and I
and
won a
it was-
basket.
Oh,
Hey.
nice.
What's better than that?
yeah,
So
it was really, they
it
did
was
a great
really
job.
well done.
So I'm sure they raised a considerable amount of revenue for the programs that the PTOs put
That's
on for
great.
the schools and field trips and everything else. So it's all good. It's a great event.
Thank you.
It's the social event of the season. It's a great time.
It was a good time. It's always good to get together with other parents and friends. So it's good.
Anything else? Anyone? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion for the school committee to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, good night.